The Wild West is back and Calgary is the golden child. Finally, we are experiencing the joys of positive price movements in our markets, and Calgary is the star of the headlines. But, and there's always a but, depending on which headlines you're reading, you might be thinking, I've gone mad. Now, before you dismiss this video as another real estate agent pushing buying a house on people, hear me out. There are some headlines and news reports that just make my head spin. So let's push aside the noise, take a look at some facts, and arm ourselves with a strategy that puts us ahead, because the Wild West isn't slowing down for anybody. And if you want on this train, you better get moving. What's going on, everybody? It's Ryan with Century 21 Bamber. We've got a lot to cover today. Not so much in the way of stats, numbers, data, charts. This is about taking a look at where things are going and how you can prepare for it. So similar to December, January's numbers don't tell us too much about the trends. This is the turnaround month. People get back to their routines, the kids go back to school, listings that were being held, they go live, and buyers get back out there. But there are a few key points to be aware of. Number one, January broke the streak of downward price trends. We saw the benchmark price climb back up to $521,000 after 7 months of declines. Those declines totaled to just about 5%, so it was great to see a return of some of that value. Number two, we are still in a very tight inventory situation. We have just over 2 months of inventory for the entire city, but if you get into those lower price points where there's incredible demand, we've started seeing houses sell in a weekend again with a ton of competition and multiple offers. As of this morning, there are 985 homes on the market under $600,000, but if you're in the market for a semi-detached or detached home, you have just 295 options available. New home builders are also low on inventory. Most builders are sold out in their current phases and are waiting for new lots in their upcoming phases. Those lots are likely spoken for as well, as the builders have waiting lists that are packed full. It is really incredible just how few homes there are for sale in those affordable price points. At higher price points, it's a bit more balanced, but a house that's priced right in the right neighborhood will still see a ton of demand and sell quickly. Recently, there was a place that listed out for about $1.4 million. It had over 40 showings in a weekend, sold that weekend, and had multiple offers and a ton of competition. So the demand is clearly there. The most important and almost mind-blowing stat for the month was that we saw the lowest number of new listings dating back to the late 90s. Now, Calgary in 1999 had a population of about 900,000 people. Right now, we have about 1.6 million people living in the city. That stat is truly staggering if you think about it. As a result, sales were down huge from last year, about 40%, but when there's so few homes for people to buy, it's to be expected that sales are going to decline. So why are we seeing sales and new listings so low? Well, I can tell you it's not because homes are sitting on the markets for hundreds of days and sellers are discouraged to list their properties. It's not because buyers have disappeared and we're in a slumping market. I feel it's because homeowners are either perfectly happy staying put with where they are, they don't want to get involved with higher interest rates, or they don't realize the opportunity in front of them and how they can capitalize on it. So how have we found ourselves in this situation where what's actually going on and what a lot of my fellow Calgarians think is going on is so different? Well, I think it's thanks to our great friends, the news. A lot of these articles and reports have some great information hidden inside of them. The problem is they're being masked by these catchy headlines and an overall lack of an understanding of what's being shared. The result is a lot of people are forming opinions and making decisions that may not be in their best interests. Take a look at this article, for example. Average Canadian house price fell 12% last year, new CREA numbers show. I mean, how can you not look at this and think that real estate prices aren't crashing? If you go on to read the article, they talk about some countrywide statistics, which is a horrible way of looking at real estate. One of the unique characteristics of real estate is that it is so location dependent. And here we are generalizing and saying that what's going on in one part of the country is going on everywhere. It's a terrible way of looking at it. Now, if you keep on reading and you make it a little bit further down, you'll actually make it to this chart. And this chart is the real story of this article. It's buried far in it. Most people won't even get to it, but it shows a bunch of major different cities across Canada. You have at the top here, like Regina, down nearly 20%. You have a bunch of areas down anywhere from 10 to 20%. If you keep scrolling though, down near the bottom, here's Calgary. And according to CREA's metrics, we were up 6.3%. So in an article headlined that the average Canadian house price fell 12% last year, your house is up in value. It's probably up more than 6.3%, especially if you're in those lower price points. Let's move on to another one. The question, after a tough 2022, how much further do real estate prices have to fall? This one's a real doozy. We just saw in that other article, and we've seen in the stats, Calgary's prices are actually up year over year, but sure, how much further do they have to fall? I mean, reading this, how are you not concerned as a homeowner of your property's value? If you're thinking of buying, how would you not be thinking, oh, well, I'm gonna wait, prices are continuing to decline? Then I think worst of all, if you're someone who bought recently, if you bought in the last year, you're probably feeling huge amounts of regret if this is the kind of information that you're seeing all the time. So if we go on and try and figure out what's forming their opinion, we'll immediately see they're generalizing. They're grouping Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary all into the same generalization. So we have them talking about how Toronto's market peaked at 1.37 million, Vancouver peaked at 1.375 million, and Calgary peaked at 546,000. That's a whole nother conversation to be had, but it doesn't really make sense here. Keep going down, they have these charts, and this is really what bothers me the most. When comparing each region's peak against December's benchmark price results, Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary have dropped by 21%, 19%, and nearly 5% respectively. So they do give that respective number to Calgary's market, but just by grouping them with these other cities that have seen really unfortunate declines in their market, it builds on this negative narrative. And that's what they're trying to sell you on here. Now, yes, it's super unfortunate to see any amount of value disappear from your home, but you got to keep in mind that from the start of 2020, we've seen house prices rise by about 28%. You've probably seen more in some parts of the market, maybe a bit less in others. So that 5% decline is not as bad when you consider there's other areas seeing 20%, 19%, and they're literally seeing a decade of home price growth disappear in a matter of a year. So when they group all these cities together and they put this headline on it, it's really misleading and it's super unfortunate. Now, things have gotten to the point where I actually had someone ask me if there would be any buyers for their home if they listed. And we're in some of the tightest inventory levels we've ever seen in the city. We have some of the highest buyer demand ever seen. We have insane amounts of migration. And there are homeowners worried that their property won't sell because there's no buyers out there and house prices are crashing. Now, I don't want to sound too harsh or negative towards the media. I get it. They have a job to do. But these headlines are being written to get views and clicks and not to properly inform us. Now, there are some articles that are fantastic and have great interviews with local agents who are sharing the reality that buyers and sellers are facing in our market every day. So please, if you take anything from this, when you do your research, make sure it's local. Talk to an agent. Honestly, we love talking about this stuff. Educating and assisting people on their decision-making process is one of the most rewarding parts of the job. At the end of the day, it's about your specific situation and what's going to work well for you. All the numbers, the data, the reports don't matter. What matters is if you're prepared to make your next move. So if you want to have a chat about your situation, see where the market's at, or maybe you want to learn more about the process, maybe you're new to this, please give me a call or shoot me a text. I would be more than happy to help you out. So I've started to hear from a lot of the new people that I'm getting the chance to talk to that they're waiting for prices to drop. This is unsustainable. It can't go on forever. I'm waiting for interest rates to drop. I'm waiting for all the foreclosures so I can get a steal of a deal. And I can appreciate how we, as a group of people, as Albertans, have built these thoughts and opinions. For the majority of the last decade, Alberta was ragged on, and we faced tough economic downturns. It was almost cyclical. We'd have stretches of the good, and then the bad would come around and wipe it all out. History hurts. So So with a couple years of positive price movement behind us, it's totally fair to feel like things have gotten too expensive and that things are going to turn for the worse, because that's what's always happened. And this is where I want to make this message as clear as it can be. We are finally the place to be again. We are the star in the headlines, and the rest of the country, the rest of the world has finally taken notice. So remember this, if you're looking at house prices and thinking this has gotten out of control, this is way too expensive, these are bargains for people moving here from Toronto. If you're looking at rent and thinking this is way too unaffordable, people in Vancouver are paying twice as much for the same amount of space. The movement of people to Alberta and our city has been record-breaking, and it's one of the key factors at the core of why our real estate market has been so stable. This trend's going to continue throughout 2023 and onward. So it's important to understand that our perception is just one side of it. There are people who look at Calgary as a home run destination, as the beacon of affordability, and they are seizing those opportunities. So your key takeaways are 2023 is going to continue to be a seller's market. There are way too many people looking to buy a house here and nowhere near enough homes to fill that demand. Interest rates are here to stay. Bank of Canada just increased rates again last month. They have indicated that they plan on putting rate increases on hold, but they're not going to start decreasing rates anytime soon. So you need to adjust for it. And if you don't, you might find yourself buying a worst case scenario later on. And that's because, and I really feel pretty strongly about this, we may never see home prices this affordable ever again. So if you're on the fence about it and you have a stable, good paying job, you're not drowning in debt, and you have plans for home ownership or making a move in the near future, get off the fence and take action. Buying a house is always going to be a scary task. Even if every variable was perfectly lined up, it would still be a daunting thing to do. So do your research, be confident in your decision, and work with people that are there to help you and give you guidance to help you get to where you need to be. There you go. I hope this video helped put things in perspective and give you some insight. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel and click that bell. I've got some more great content coming up that you don't want to miss. If you know somebody that may need to hear this message, please share this with them. And if you have any questions, reach out. Until next time, we're out.